All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, and a sincere Shalom to the brothers out here pushing truth and sincerity. And I have here that it says we may not have enough food soon, which is no surprise. Everything, I mean, how when you think about it, there's no new thing under the sun. And what I mean by that is history repeats. This place was technically going through that before the Great Depression of this land, especially since for the past, well, I guess ever since then, there's not enough food here to actually fill everybody, so they had to resort to GMO or plant based. And you see that from back then and increasingly now, there's no food with no nutrition now. But now we're getting to the part where they're going to start shutting down these trucks. They're going to start shutting down any stores that actually, no, before they even start shutting them down, they're going to increase the prices on them, just like the gas. And we've been saying it. Whenever gas goes up, everything else goes up. That includes your clothing stores, your supply stores, and your food stores. Now, this is 14 minutes. I won't play the whole thing. I will actually be getting into two parts of this. So I'm going to go ahead and start this.
In retrospect, Joe Biden's first-term policy agenda seems very optimistic, almost comically optimistic. Shortly before his inauguration, Biden announced something he called the Build Back Better agenda. Of course, we mocked it at the time. But looking back, it was in some ways a hopeful document. America must have been a very rich country back then. And by back then, we mean last year. There weren't a lot of essentials in Biden's agenda. The first three things that any normal nation needs and thinks about obsessively are food, water, and energy. That's the standard. In China, for example, every government policy, foreign and domestic, is designed above all to secure adequate reserves of food, water, and energy. And that makes sense. The Build Back Better agenda was the opposite of that. It did not suggest any concern at all about whether Americans might have enough to eat or could afford enough heating fuel to keep from freezing to death over the winter. Biden's agenda was focused on the kind of added extras you get to when you fixed everything else and then still have trillions left over. Build Back Better promised us something called environmental equity, whatever that is. It demanded amnesty for millions of illegal aliens because at the time, the American economy seemed robust enough to share with the entire world. Universal health care for Honduras. Biden called for free solar panels for everybody and taxpayer-funded pre-K for all American parents, and so on and on. Build Back Better was the neoliberal version of flying cars. It was a dreamy Christmas list of luxuries that for a moment in time seemed almost within reach. A lot has changed. Nobody's talking about flying cars anymore. Here's Joe Biden from yesterday.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did so talk about food shortages. And
sorry.
And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. And because both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example. Just give one example.
Food shortages, Biden said, quote, they're going to be real. Once again, in case you missed it, to repeat, food shortages. Not in Sudan, in Cincinnati, in Reno, in Spokane, in Norfolk, and of course in our big cities too, where not a single person who was born here has any idea what a food shortage is. Our problem has always been having too much food. Now we won't have it.
Well, that's where he's wrong. This place has been in this shortage for a very long time. And now it's going to be an actual shortage that people can see. But as you can see, it's not going to be a joke. They're actually saying it now. I thought the problem was actually gas prices. But now now they went on to food shortages. And this is all part of the agenda for what the rats are ultimately trying to do. Collapse this place. Because now that gas gone up and now food's going to go short, everything else is going to go up in high prices, and then you're going to see the collapse of the dollar. So there's going to be a lot of things going on. Actually, Slovakia. Let me click on that. This is Amos 8 and 11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord." So, actually, and it says, "They shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it." So it won't just be a problem of just bread or water, because that's the main thing people are going to is going to be worried about. And as he was talking about earlier, the main essentials to running any kingdom is food, water, and energy. The Lord says, "I'm not only going to send the famine of just bread and the water, but to hear the hearing of the words of the Lord," which means when people start realizing that everything we were saying was true, you ain't gonna find us either. That's gonna be a major famine when you can't actually find a solution that we've been trying to give you, which wasn't meant for everybody, but it was only meant for the hopeful elect. Once everything comes into play, once even the MOTB comes into play and all that, once this place is down, oh, there's gonna be a famine to us too. Y'all ain't gonna be able to find us. I mean, that's going to be the main problem, because the Lord can still provide food and water to who He wants. Because that's the thing, when there's not an actual shortage, because there is going to be a shortage, but it's not the same way as everybody thinks. It's going to be a cutoff on some truck supplies. The shortage will be in the stores. People don't know how to grow their own foods or know where these trucks are being held at with food. So there's abundance of food, and that was probably the case of having too much food, because these rats are always storing it. Their plan was to have the economy crash before, and guess what? They're going to do it again. But that's what the Lord was talking about, that this place is going to burn forever. Thus saith Malachi 1 and 4. But they won't be able to rebuild this place. This is the last time they're going to try to crash this economy. It's going to be the worst. This is going to be the worst crash than the Great Depression. That Great Depression compared to this is going to pale in comparison. So a lot of things are about to get worse. So I got this scripture right here. This is Jeremiah 30 and 7. It says, "Alas, for that day is great." That day. Great Depression wasn't that day, just because it has great in front of it. It says, "So that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." So the time of Jacob's trouble is going to be terrible, heart-wrenching. The Great Depression wasn't that bad, because it was still going. It didn't actually collapse like this what's going to happen in the near future, when you're going to have people going nuts, burning buildings, just have nowhere to live, had to scrounge for food. That was the reports of that in the Great Depression. And I'm talking about on a high level, where this place could be looking like ruins. There was no accountants of that. But I'm gonna skip, I would say, a little further. Actually, a lot further. I'm going to start here.
Fishing companies are paying such high costs, they're running out of business. Same country would do that. And no foreign entity should be allowed to control America's critical natural resources. So how long till the Chinese start scooping up the Great Lakes, which are our largest reservoirs of fresh water?
Well, shit, with that, these rats basically hand America over to China. All their stores are over in China. Then they're in debt to China. So it's a whole screwed up mess with this anyways, which is actually a good thing because it's all built by prophecy. The downfall of this place is going to be a slow but harsh one. It's going to hit everybody hard. People don't understand that this place is $1 trillion in debt. So when that bubble pops, well, nobody should be surprised, but no one ever pays attention to it. We say it, but this is one of these other things they ignore. We've been saying that this place was going to come out with all sorts of shit. People laughed at us. Well, guess what? Don't hear them doing too much laughing now. Now they just walk on by.
Food, water, energy. Don't laugh. That's where we're headed. And it could happen much sooner than anyone seems to realize. Fishing companies are paying such high costs, they're running out of business. Here's another Fox Multimedia report. Watch.
Gas prices are jacking up the cost of boat rentals and charters, leaving captains like Cody Kinney with two choices: cancel charters that are not profitable or increase ticket prices. The increases are not just hitting the tourism industry.
From our boats that go out fishing to our trucks that deliver the product, everything that we use to run our business, we see at least a 35% increase.
Nello Casarino runs Galveston Shrimp Company. He says passing those prices on to the consumer is not a reliable option.
Because the consumer at some point will stop buying it. It turns into a ripple effect where the plants have to lay off employees, trucks stop moving.
Mm-hmm. All part of our food supply now imperiled through a remarkable combination of negligence and terrible decision-making. Not just by this administration, by previous administrations.
See, and I wanted to stop a little earlier, but as he said, they're going to have to stop some trucks and some other things. And this is where this place is heading to an economic collapse. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I know this is probably going to be a thing, where they offer the MOTB, they could be like, hey, y'all want your jobs back? We can lower the gas price and all that. Maybe do it slightly for free if you take this thing. That'll be the agenda. That'll be the whole plan of it. And it won't probably be when this place collapses. They're going to introduce this a little early. Because they're already doing it now. It's already in some parts of the states of this place anyways. But when it starts becoming a popular thing that they like to introduce, even through these rap videos and stuff, they're going to offer discounts and everything. When this place collapsed, they was like, you want to enter back in this? You just need to take this. You know how many people will line up just to go back to their old lives? That's the weakness of the flesh. That's a lot of weakness of the flesh. That's why the Lord only is coming back for a certain amount of the elect, of his hopeful elect, out of each tribe. So that in itself will tell you a lot.
But brought to the point of crisis by Joe Biden. And by the way, it's not just a question of what it costs to fuel a commercial fishing fleet. The oceans themselves are being depleted of fish, entire species, by the Chinese government. You hear a lot about the environment and saving the planet, by which they mean don't drive an SUV. But the actual planet, its actual resources, its oceans, the most important resource the planet has. It's not about climate, it's about the oceans. And increasingly they're polluted and bereft of fish. And China's doing that. We're not. And no one's saying a word about it. So instead of addressing any of these problems, our leaders are responding in the one way they know how. They're throwing more money at the problem and in the process devaluing the US dollar that we're going to desperately need to stay solvent. California Governor Gavin Newsom, for example, just announced he's about to give his residents another free credit card.
So today we're announcing a $9 billion tax refund to tens of millions of Californians, $400 for each registered vehicle that an individual owns, up to 2 vehicles. That direct relief will address the issue that we all are struggling to address, and that's the issue of gas prices.
So if the hands and the hair and the teeth distracted you and you didn't actually hear anything that Governor Newsom said, what he's saying is tax prices are really high, so we're going to give you a tax refund, whether or not you pay taxes, it's welfare, and that's going to solve the problem. What he doesn't say is that California has the highest gas prices in America because it has the highest gas taxes in America. $7 a gallon in Los Angeles, $7. He did that. But instead of fixing it, he's making you more dependent. And this is a trend. For the second time in 2 years, politicians are sending out welfare checks to compensate for economic crises that they caused. So if you wanted to increase inflation, if you wanted to make the population weak and dependent upon you, this is what you'd probably do. Free bread next.
So this place is, well, number one, it's screwed. But this place is no different from China. You talking about how Chinese eating up all the fish? No, this place eats up fucking crabs, shrimp, and lobster. At least they trying to do. The Chinese are no different, but no, any country that's ruled by heathen or Edomite is screwed. Is screwed up. It's all this. There's no wonder the earth is in pain and drained of its energy. It's like it. But as you can see, they're going to collapse everything. This is proof. Why a $9 million tax return? For what? That's no different from the fucking I forgot what it was called when they was giving us stimulus. When they was giving us stimulus checks, that was no different. Now they're gonna gain that money right back anyways, and they sure as hell did when they started January of this year. When they was saying that, oh, because we're giving you this stimulus, if you decide to give these stimulus to other people using Cash App, PayPal, and the other source of sending money, you won't have to file taxes for it. So they made their money back already. It was either this year or last year, either one, but they've already made their money back on it 20 times over, of anything. This place is just looking more screwed and screwed by the more you look at it. This is Isaiah 24:11. There's a crying for wine in the streets, all joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. So you don't, and I said it earlier, you don't see a lot of smiling faces. Hell, that was a time, even back when when me and the brothers started coming out, as far as in my camp, started coming out like almost 10 years ago, we was laughed at. We was ignored. We was laughed at. We got a lot of people that bucked up against us because of the stuff we was saying. And now we don't get too many people coming up against us, especially of this year. We get people, but like far as the scoffers, but we don't get too many scoffers nowadays, because everybody's starting to see that what we was talking about was true. We was heading to World War III. Well, you don't see nobody disagreeing with us now. Hell, if anything, I see a lot of people agreeing with us now. The gas prices. And I'm just talking of recent. The gas prices. Well, yeah, as we were done told, once these gas prices go up, everything else go up. And what is happening now? Everything else is going up when you go into these stores. Now there's a shortage of food. And this wasn't the first time when they were talking about a shortage of food, but now they're making it more well known that there's a shortage of things, especially when Walmart runs a lot of Walmarts was running out of stuff, and they was restocking the shelves, especially when this virus hit. And we was telling people that back a couple of, I would say about, I think 5 years plus ago, that this place was going to get hit with a virus. And guess what? There it is. People are laughing at us now when we talk about that virus. People was not only was people forced to wear masks, but when they lifted the mask mandate, people still was wearing masks because they were still afraid of everything, which is fine because no one wants to get sick. Oh, with this mask mandate lifted, and we already saw the outcome, when a lot of people don't want to wear the mask, then all of a sudden they're saying all this is spiking back up again. So a lot of things that we done said has came true. Actually, all the things we have said has actually came true. We never tell you in detail how it's going to happen, but we tell you that this is going to happen, and that's it. And it always happens. So, with brothers giving out various informations of stuff, even from what happened before, what's happening now, and what's happening and what's going to happen in the future, that's why we always a stable ground through the power of Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, is because the Lord gave us a gift of flavor, literally a bit of everything when it comes to bringing out information. So when I read this scripture, especially right now, when it says there's a crime for wine in the streets, which means they're looking for that happiness, but also that drunken love that they have for this place, but they just can't get it. It says all joy is darkened, the mirth of the land is gone, which means mirth means the happiness. So the happiness of this place is gone. You don't see nobody walking around with high smiles anymore. If anything, every time they even going just to work or just going to the store, I look at everybody's faces. They just seem a little pissed off. You kind of gotta swerve away from everybody. I'm talking about like when you just walking around. It's like, don't walk near me. You don't know what these people are gonna do. That's why these people are gonna start ending up like zombies. And hell, they technically zombies now. When the way they just talk about dumb stuff that's not profitable, they're basically dead. But when these people start acting nuts and crazy because their once happy land is gone, oh yeah, you're gonna start seeing the zombie side of them. Watch these people start feeling like they got attacking hordes. This place is ultimately screwed one way or another, whether you people like it or not. That's why we're only out here for the hopeful elect, because no one else wants to get it. No one wants to accept that what we've been telling them is true. You got some that will, but they won't. Again, that only way that is only for the ones that might be of the hopeful elect. You got some people out there that will agree that the way everything's going is not pretty good. I have a lot of Edomites will tell us that. They're the ones, they're usually primarily the ones that agree with us. So you can see when even the once proud people of this built up bloody country is agreeing that this place is screwed, that becomes a problem for everybody. Whether they want to admit it or not. When these high and mighty people of the caves is telling you that this place is they actually agree that this place is going to be destroyed, that tells you something. And yet our own people can't even get that. Our own people can't even grasp the concept of that. It's got to come from Esau's mouth, but I don't even think they can believe if that's the particular words coming from their mouth. But that's all I have going into that. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. And with that, shalom.